We're joined now by Basil Manuel from the union Naptosa to discuss government's plan to move ahead and reopen the schools. Mr. Manuel, thank you for joining me. I don't know how much of the conversation you could hear from Steve Mabona's side, but basically they are saying from their side, at least in Gauteng, it's all systems go. What is your sense as a union ahead of the return to full-time schooling, at least for the primary schooling segment of the schooling population on Monday?
Thulasizwe, good morning and thanks for having me. Yes, I heard what Steve had to say, and we certainly have engaged with the national department as well as various provincial departments, and the teacher unions, Naptosa included, have always supported the idea that primary schools must return. And of course, however, we do have certain requirements that we've put up there and certain concerns. But we have to remember that, of course, we haven't been at full-time schooling capacity since the beginning of the lockdown, and that's a year and 3 months ago. And at that time we had deficits. Those deficits haven't suddenly evaporated. So we will still sit with some deficits, but the important point is, can we manage with them whilst they are being attended to? And this is what our meeting yesterday was about, even with the DG and the heads of department in the various provinces. And yes, we are supporting the return. We've raised our concerns. We will meet again on Wednesday to hear how far we've gone with all the other concerns, but those concerns are not stymieing or stopping the work towards full-time return on the 2nd of August. But certainly for the 26th, the schools are ready to return nationally.
The practicalities of returning at least the primary school segment of the schooling population, what does that look like from your perspective and your members' perspective to have the full component of primary school pupils back in school amid calls for regulations to be adhered to in a situation where you and I know we're dealing with children who may drop their guard from time to time? What does that look like from your perspective?
Thulasizwe, that's where the greatest concern lies. The one is overcrowding, the other one is social distancing. And we know that, as you've so correctly said, our children don't necessarily grasp the concept in the lower primary school in particular about the need for social distancing. And we've now got to work with that. It adds burden to our teachers. Our teachers have to do far more than they've ever done. But the very same teacher who is concerned is also the teacher who is saying, we can't continue with this rotational learning. Our learners are losing out too much. We are sitting with grade 2 learners who can hardly read or write, and by now they should have mastered the basics of reading and writing, and that is because we've seen too little of them. But our people are concerned. They are concerned about PPEs, they are concerned about water, and there are many things, and different areas show different concerns. But are they manageable within the context? And of course, this is what we've put to the DBE, that we want to see that overcrowding is diminishing. We don't want to see that we are still where we were a year and 3 months ago. We want to see that the regularity and quality of PPEs is now no longer a debate. We want to see that teachers are appointed on time. These are the issues where the shoes pinch. That doesn't mean our teachers aren't worried. The mental health of our teachers is extremely important to us because fear is real, irrespective of what informs it. And they are worried about the variant. They're worried about children being carriers of the variant. And they are worried about members of their own school, adults who haven't been vaccinated. But as Steve said, we can't force people, but we've got to work at it to encourage more people. But to have over 90% in Gauteng, and the average, national average, is about 80% of teachers vaccinated, is a wonderful thing. We've succeeded with that, but the work continues.
Just put some perspective, societal perspective to it, Mr. Manuel. the alternative to reopening schools and trying to regain some form of momentum and salvage as much of the 2021 schooling year as we possibly can on the one hand, versus a situation where, you sometimes hear people saying, let's close the schools altogether. The long-term effect, what we are losing day by day, versus the threats that we face, the public health threats and the mitigation that has gone towards those threats. What's your sense? At this particular point, can we afford to have another disruption to the schooling calendar? Could we, for instance, afford to have President Ramaphosa come out and say, actually, after this period of level 4 lockdown, we've looked at the situation, we're going to keep the schools closed for another 3 weeks or so? Or would the cost of that in terms of South Africa's future be far too great to contemplate?
Thulasizwe, let me first dismiss out of hand any idea that schools should be indefinitely closed. We've never supported the idea, and we never will. We want to see that we try and normalize things. But, of course, the specter of something beyond our control has to be recognized. If tomorrow we hear that we've got to close for another week or two, we will be disappointed. But the health has to come first, and the well-being of the children and teachers have to come first. It will be devastating, let me be clear, but the alternatives have not worked. Even the schools that have managed to do online teaching will tell you it has had a limited impact, not the impact we've dressed it out to be. The other learners who don't have ready access, it hasn't worked at all to try and get them to be listen to the radio channels, go onto the television channels, etc., because there's no interactivity, and that is a problem. So let's not delude ourselves that we have many alternatives. We don't. The only real alternative we have is to try and normalize the situation where we know it can work. And of course, we have to still be bound by what our health sector says. So we're hoping and praying that it's turning out for the best. If it doesn't, we will swallow and we will wait our turn, and then we will start going back again. But certainly we are not going to do something that endangers the lives of children and teachers. At the same time, we know, and we need the public to know, that the losses our learners are suffering, the losses the system is suffering, is going to be huge, and to catch up is a huge task. Individuals may catch up, but the system takes much longer to catch up.
All right, Mr. Manuel, thank you for your time and your insights. Basil Manuel of the Teacher Union Naptosa weighing in ahead of the reopening, the planned reopening of schools and the return to full-time schooling, at least for the primary school sector.